Blitzboks. Cadilt does well. Pretorius, JC Pretorius! Two players on air, one-handed flag. Pretorius delivers, and Sheikh Soyizwapi says thank you very much. A player donkey in Afrikaans.
And I think Coach Neil did say that it's not always a fairy tale, and it wasn't. And it wasn't the ending that he would have wanted. It wasn't the ending that we would have hoped for as well. But I think to send him off in that way was pretty special. And I think that's the last game you always remember, and that a lot of people remember as well. Just in that huddle, he was just grateful to be part of something special, something bigger than himself, and so grateful to be able to stand in a huddle and have brothers around him that week in and week out, day in and day out, strive for the same goal. Hi, I'm Sheikh Soyizwapi. Welcome to the Rugby Hive.
He's so dangerous, Freddy Krueger has nightmares about him.
Hello and welcome to the Rugby Hive. I'm Dallen, Stanford, and despite my South African accent, I was fortunate enough to play rugby for the United States on the Sevens World Series.
And I'm MacDowell, a former Canadian Sevens international. Back in my playing days, I went head-to-head against Dallen in the USA.
For several years, Robin has coached international sevens for various countries, including Canada and Mexico. He's massively passionate about growing the game across the Americas through his MacDowell rugby programs at all levels. I'm currently a commentator for World Rugby, most recently broadcasting the Rugby World Cup in Japan, as well as the amazing Sevens World Series.
More than a decade later, we are teaming up to bring you insights from legendary players and coaches from around the world.
All legends have a story. The Rugby Hive podcast is here to share it.
Welcome to the Hive.
Oh, it's more dangerous than climate change.
Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the Rugby Hive. What began as a couple of podcasts having a chinwag has developed into something we thoroughly enjoy, which is talking about legendary rugby players and coaches from around the world. Firstly, we want to thank you, the listeners, for being out there. All three of you are very special to us. We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have. Season 1, it was action-packed with 24 brilliant guests. And then the world opened up again, and we interviewed just 6 legends on Season 2. But some of those included Blitzbok sensation Cecil Afrika, Canadians Dave Moonlight and John Moonlight, the then Germany Sevens coach Jamie McGrath, who's currently with Kenya, 2 commentary friends of mine, Sean Holly from Wales and Aussie Andrew Swain, and then King Jerry Tuwai, the Fijian 2-time Olympian gold medalist and recent Rugby World Cup Sevens winner, was our final episode for that season. And Robs, it has been brilliant. We've got so many guests coming up for Season 3, but let's look back. Season 2, what have you enjoyed, my friend? How have things gone on your side?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Season 2. It's amazing that we're kicking off Season 3. Again, just us planting the seed. One of the positives come out of the pandemic, and our real vision about the Hive is that it becomes bigger than us. It's this neutral, positive ground, Canada, US, and now it's kind of global. Got legendary Ben Gollings involved, the England Sevens sensation that's now obviously in Fiji, based out of Australia, and Mike Friday's made a number of cameos, obviously the USA Olympic Sevens coach. We got the Karen Gasbarino, who puts that pen to paper, as writing some brilliant stories over the last 2 seasons. And we've even added Maxine O'Leary, our marketing guru that's been keeping everything professional. So the family's growing. And even outside of that, there's been a number of different people that obviously have been guests on our show that have brought us closer. And hopefully just, the background, what I love is a bit of background for you as well as you get to commentate them now that the world's back rolling.
Yeah, Rob, firstly, you've been so great about putting this brilliant team together. It's been amazing because the first season, we never got to see each other face to face because of the pandemic and everything. But then our travels the last 2 years have been brilliant to see each other at all these different events. And again, we were such a good crew. I also want to shout out our sensational partners. They've been instrumental in keeping us going as well. World Rugby Shop is the first one. They produce that sleek clothing range and merch for us. WorldRugbyShop.com, of course, is the website. Just search Rugby Hive. Folks, go wild, add stuff to the cart. We don't care. Click purchase, get it done. New Zulu Warriors. Then Gilbert Rugby Canada. They also have the Rugby Hive branded ball, a bunch of other superb items. Please go to gilbertrugbycanada.com for more. Enduro Sport, another great partner. The premium daily supplement keeps you focused, hydrated, energized for hours. You can get 40% off at rugbyhive.endurosportofficial.com. And then we have not one, but two biltong partners. That's because Robs and myself love to munch on this brilliant stuff. It's Brews Biltong. We featured on our socials recently, is our American partner. You can get some of their delicious biltong and rooibos at brewsbiltong.com. And then north of the border, Canada Biltong is amazing. Check out their products online at canadabiltong.com. And then a massive shout out to the Rugby Network for featuring our episodes on their fantastic platform. Also, if you want to partner with us, don't forget, send us a message on social media or hit up Robin and myself on the socials. Don't be scared. It's not Halloween yet. And then lastly, I want to mention Myoderm CBD products. Those are for pain and recovery. Plus, they make facial products as well. They sent me a sample pack. Rob's, yours got lost in the mail. Of course, the Canadian address in the woods was not available, but they have some quality items. Very impressed with them, so folks can visit them at myoderm.com. All right, Rob, so I want to switch gears. Let's look back at the year 2022. Give us some of your favorite moments and highlights in the rugby space.
Honestly, it's been one of the best years of my life involved with the sport. Obviously, getting married, I think about a year ago. Got to go to Portugal last year at the Tens, kicking off the Premier Sevens, which has been the highlight of my coaching journey. Yeah, and seeing that league blossom. And then again, obviously getting to see you last year in Memphis, getting to work with the Loonies, Kelly Griffin, the legend, who will be featured here in the coming weeks. And just lots of travel, spending a lot of time in the USA in the last 12 months, seeing you at multiple Premier Seven stops, multiple World Series in Canada and the US, just doing what I love all over the world, and getting to, make our rugby world a little bit smaller. And, obviously having Ben on, join the team, and in the time that he joined the team, we talked him into quitting his real job, as I say, and pursue his dream, which is coaching on the World Series, him landing Fiji and culminating, a couple of weeks ago with winning the World Cup, just what that meant to him and his young family. As you said, his 35 kids celebrating there in Fiji last week was pretty special. And then for me, my academy day to day, I got so many future Hive legends coming out of here from across the world, and just thankful it's still mid-July here on Vancouver Island in early October. The weather's still hot, still shiny, and just on the field. But how about that side for you?
Yeah, Robs, you're the busiest guy I know. Seriously, you're everywhere doing a million different things, wearing different hats. Also, like you, man, been so busy. It's been awesome. The Rugby World Cup Sevens, which you mentioned, it was so great to catch up with Ben there in person in Cape Town, in my hometown. That was probably, one of the most special events for me in recent times, to go back and see friends and things like that. With the 7 series, it's kept me super busy. First time I ever got a chance to go to stops in Spain, Malaga and Sevilla earlier this year, and then Toulouse in France. That was sensational. Vancouver was awesome, as always. Good to see you and everybody else, the crew. And then the finale in LA with 4 teams able to win the series. It just makes it super exciting at being part of that. Major League Rugby has kept me on my toes, that's for sure. We had such a busy season. Got a chance to call the final at Red Bull Arena near New York. That was aired on national television on Fox Sports, which was great to see the game growing on that platform. Premier Sevens, as you mentioned, so many epic events. 3 of them. I got a chance to do the Austin event in San Jose. So much fun. I love what they're doing. Can't wait for next year. It's going to be brilliant to see what they got up their sleeve. And then also the Crossover Academy, the American Raptors. Good to see them in the Challenge Cup, call a few of their games, plus the famous Rugby Town Sevens. You scored some great tries and coached some great teams over the years. So that's always one of my favorite stops as well there, But the year's not done yet, hey, Rob? So what else have you got in store to finish things up for this year?
Well, just got back from a tournament with my academy boys last weekend, which was super exciting. And Paul Bennett, the king of Biltong Canada, his superstar son, who actually just got nominated like top back in British Columbia this past week and was on fire. So that was a lot of fun, but I got some family time the rest of the month with my wife, going out to the West Coast, doing some fall surfing in the ice cold North Pacific Ocean. And then back on the road to Mexico City, where I've spent many, many years coaching Mexico. So I'll be down for the RAN Super Sevens, helping support the Trinidad and Tobago team and just overall supporting the region. And then home for a few weeks. And then I'm actually getting an opportunity to work with Canadian legend Adam Roberts. I'm going to be coaching with him the BC U18 boys team at the World Schools Games in Auckland, New Zealand. And I haven't been back to Auckland since the Wellington Sevens in 2007. So I'm super excited. And whenever I can be involved with the sport from a pathway aspect with my region and whether it be Premier Sevens or within the pathway within my own country, is super exciting there. And also been involved with doing some talent ID with USA. I've kind of started this Golden Eagle program with Bidewell to find and unearth some talent for the 2028 Olympics. It's a little like kissing your sister, but at the end of the day, I'm loyal to talented athletes and their dreams, and being a part of so many different countries at once really makes my heart full and keeps me neutral, just like the Hive. How about you? You're heading out to finally get a commentate at the famous Hong Kong Sevens. How exciting is that?
Yes, pal. Similar to you, you know, the last time I was in like Hong Kong was 07, 08, 09, that kind of time period. It's been a long, long time coming. So very excited to head out there and kick off the HSBC World Rugby Sevens series. But so great to hear about your trip to New Zealand. That's going to be brilliant. And then, of course, you know, the Talent ID, sure, it's for the USA, but also you're growing rugby in Canada. So anybody in North America knows how much you're doing for the game, which is cool. And then, Rob's, yeah, I actually have a cool job at the moment. I'm going to do 3 or 4 games in the Rugby Europe Super Cup. So it's great because it's remote commentary. So finally I can get to call some games from home. So as long as Verity is not smashing a few jars behind me, it should go pretty well. The competition, it's in their second year. They've got 7 countries taking part in Europe. And so it'd be pretty cool to kick that off. And then I was going to do the Cape Town and Dubai, but Verity and myself actually moving back to California, which is really exciting, just in time for the winter to kick off here in New England. We've had a lovely time here, but I think it's time for us to get back there to the beaches and some sunny weather as well coming up for the winter. So we've obviously loved our time here working with the New England Free Jacks and being on the East Coast. We'll definitely be back to visit family and friends and that sort of thing, you know. So, but Rob, season 3 kicks off shortly. Let's get to our guest, the brilliant South African Sevens captain, Siviwe Soyizwapi, the man known as Shakes, an inspiration for the Rainbow Nation, a class act, wouldn't you say so?
You know, him and Cecil, like that we got an interview here in the recent months, just, yeah, pure class. And, you know, there's a reason why the Blitzboks and Springboks are so successful in both codes. And then a credit to Neil Powell, who just obviously retired. The amount of respect that Soyizwapi or Shakes shares in this episode, going to be missed. You know, I think the culture that coach has led for so many years just shines through his captain in this episode. And again, it's that dream, believe, succeed. And, you know, every legend has a story, and it was exciting for Shakes to share it with the world. So he's just a very humble guy, and also loved just hearing his endearing stories about his father coaching him in soccer and just growing up as a small town kid. So he's really inspirational.
Yeah, he's so great. We had to wait a couple of hours because of load shedding. The power was out in South Africa, but it finally came on. Shakes with a flashlight entered his home, and he finally recorded the episode there. So we hope you enjoyed this one. Make sure you connect on our socials at Rugby Hive on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, at My Rugby Hive on Instagram, and our website, rugbyhive.com. Please keep safe out there, and we appreciate all the support. It's time now for Season 3, Episode 31. Siya Kolisi leads the Springboks, and Siviwe Soyizwapi leads the Blitzboks, the man known as Shakes. We had load shedding on the go, but nothing can stop us joining the Rugby Hive. Shakes, welcome, my friend.
Dallen, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a lot happening in South Africa with load shedding, but I'm really happy I can be on the show.
It's so good. It's been a long time coming. I know we always get our photo at the 7 series, particularly when you're lifting a cup title. I always jump in there with a little selfie with you, my friend. Now, listen, Robin's a speed merchant, Canada 7 sensation. We want to know, what is your 100-meter speed, your best 100-meter speed?
Yes, it actually wasn't as fast as one would think. I know I play out on the wing there, but I think I wasn't even doing any athletics at school. I was more into rugby, and we did athletics as rugby players just to keep our fitness during the off season. And back then in 2011, it was a 10.95.
Wow, 10.95. That's quick. That's quick. And that's 2011 before you trained with the Blitzboks and did all that stuff. Well, Robin's time's 15.95. So you've got him at least by a few seconds. I'm just under 20 seconds. So we're thereabouts. We're close.
No way.
Exactly. The last Blitzbok we had here was another elusive player as well, Cecil Afrika, the points machine. He was retired back then. Obviously, he came back in recent times, and he joined you on your side for the Rugby World Cup Sevens. What was it like having the bloody legend himself back in the fold?
Yes, it was something special. I must say we never expected it as a team. I mean, we went the whole season without even having him throw a line out with the team or anything. So it was just such a surprise. But, I mean, who could have said no to have such a legend back in the frame? And, I mean, Cecil, he brings so much experience to the side. He's played for so many years, still going. And the way he reads the game, always being 2 steps ahead of play, and the vision that he has. Yeah, it was special. And a lot of people don't know the person that he is in terms of how hilarious he is and the energy he brings to the team. He was the oldest guy in the World Cup for our squad, but yes, you would think he was a youngster amongst the group, keeping us all young there. So that's what he brings to the squad, and absolute legend of a player.
Oh, brilliant. So it was so great to see, the hair flying everywhere, of course, as well. And then Shakes, another first question I want to start with you, though, is how did you get your nickname? Tell us that story.
So in South Africa, I know everyone's listening from around the world. So in South Africa, there was a show growing up. It was called Super Strikers. Dallen, you might know about it. You're South African. And they also had a comic book at the engine garages that in South Africa. So one of the newspapers came with that comic book. My old man always used to get that that newspaper, and I get the comic book. So he used to coach soccer, and I thought I would play soccer as well. The comic is about a football team, and the star player is Shakes. So every time we used to go and when he went to play his games and coach, I would travel with. He reads the newspaper, I get the comic book. I read all about Shakes, and I want to be Shakes. And then the whole team started calling me Shakes, and that's where the name comes from. I've had it basically all my life. I think I was early days, 7, 8, 9, around that time when we were still up and down while he was still coaching. So that's how it came about.
I love that story. That's so great, and it's rare to keep a nickname from such a young age. But now it's gone global, so it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's stuck with me.
The king of the shake and bake. Well, we're thrilled to have you on. For me as a coach, constantly trying to inspire athletes to stay in sport and to fall in love with rugby, especially in North America. They don't know what the World Series is. They don't know how amazing rugby is. So we're all crossover athletes in Canada and the US. But I know a lot of athletes from around the world are as well. So just like to know, where did you grow up? What sports did you enjoy outside of soccer as a kid? And what was your childhood like?
No, I think that's important to get as much Americans into the game. And I love to see how the game is growing on that side as well. For me, I'm from a small town called MacDowell. It's in the Eastern Cape. If you know South Africa, there's 9 provinces, and MacDowell is more towards the, let's call it the rural side of South Africa. And it's in the Eastern Cape, quite a small province as well. Yeah, it's just a farm town close to the border of KZN and the Eastern Cape. I grew up there on the little farm town from grade 1 till grade 6. I was in the primary school there. And then 7 to 12, I moved to a boys' rugby school in King Williamstown, which is also in the Eastern Cape, which is more coastal and close to East London. Yeah, I played soccer before I even started school. And when I got to school, I just played rugby as an extramural just to stay out of trouble. And then moving to Dale, that's when the rugby bug bit me, and I just saw the passion of how much the game is loved in the school, and it was so contagious that for me as well, I just fell in love with the game. And yeah, I think from there the rest was history.
I love that. And the whole idea is again for us to try and inspire that next generation and realize that everybody came from somewhere small and is now somewhere big, and obviously having that family behind us. Do you have any siblings, and what do they do, and what sports were they into growing up?
Yeah, I've only got sisters. So my dad and myself, we were the 2 dudes in the house before my eldest sister got a son as well. And then we were 3. Yeah, my sisters, one is, I think, 40 now. The other one is 33, 32. And then it's me, I'm 30. And then my youngest sister is 27. So 3 girls. I'm the only son. I guess that's why I was so keen to get to boarding school, just to leave the girls and and get out of the house.
Well, I always say I got my speed from my older sister because I'd typically antagonize her, and then she would come running. So is that how you learn how to be deceptive and chase and run fast?
I teach you a lot. You'll be surprised. All the fights around the house growing up, just trying to get out of trouble.
Shakesy, let's talk about Dale College, right? So really small world. My grandfather went to Dale. My father went to Dale. I was there, so B, Standard 1, Standard 2, and then my family moved back to Cape Town, where I was born and where we grew up. But my father's family was all there, and in King Williamstown when it was called that still. So let's go to Dale. Let's talk a bit about, you mentioned the coaches and that sort of thing. I believe you played a lock at first. Tell us a bit about that story, because you surely must be the fastest lock in world rugby.
I actually played lock while I was still in Maclear. So while I was actually clueless about what I'm actually doing as well. I was the coach. I think he was more clueless than I was, with all respect, because in a small town like Maclear, you just want the kids to stay out of trouble. That's all. And you just put whatever team together and whatever shape or size of the player, you make it fit. And I guess my shape and my size fitted in the lock position, and that's where I found myself. Couldn't care less. You never even had a game plan, but you just threw the ball around and just ran for the try line. And I definitely wasn't the fastest, I'm sure. But at Dale, it was pretty special. I'll say that's where life started to open up for me. I think the biggest thing was being introduced to the game of rugby and learning so much more about it. I never even watched the 1995 World Cup, which is something big and special for a lot of current Springboks and ex-Springboks. So I really got into the game at Dale, and I played under 15s, 15Bs. I played third team, second team, first team. And I think there's two coaches that I definitely want to mention, and one was my second team coach, Gordon Ephraim, and he's coaching at a different school now and still keeps in touch. He's one of the first coaches that backed me and gave me so much confidence in myself as a person and a player. But I have mostly the biggest contributor to my career as a schoolboy was my first team coach, Grant Griffiths, who's still at Dale. He's not the first team coach, but he's heading things up in terms of sports there. And you might know him, you might remember him. We played in 92, I think, or 93 for Dale. Just a hell of a human being. He took us like his own sons. For me, it was 6 hours to get back home every weekend. All the boys at hostel would leave. And that's the man I would spend the weekend with. And he'd speak into my life and just give me so much confidence in who I was as a person and a player. And most importantly, just got me in love with the game of rugby. And I boosted my self-esteem and just made sure that he made me realize the talent that I have and the opportunities that are in front of me, and that I can literally just go out there and grab them. So Coach Ephraim, Gordon Ephraim, and Grant Griffiths, those are the two. And I think Dale was a special place, and I think there's a lot of other great players that come out of Dale, including Dallen.
But you're so right about the role models and the mentors that have provided us everything we needed as young kids growing up. And I think a lot of the South African schools have brilliant quality teachers and coaches. And what was funny back then in the day, it was your teacher would coach your rugby team as well. Where I know in the US it's a bit different, and I don't know what it's like in Canada, Robin, but you have specialized coaches that come in to do the sports. But your math teacher could be your first team rugby coach and stuff like that. So we all had some great ones. But you mentioned the players come through. We only got better at Rondebosch in our latter years when we had Gubani Bobo and Aginga and Samora Sawindler. All three were playing at Dale, and I think they got into trouble there, and then they left Dale and came to Rondebosch, and that's when we started to excel.
I think they also learned a lot from Rondebosch. That's also a great school. There's a lot of players, including them, that come out of Rondebosch, and one of my teammates, Zane Davids, is also coming out of that school. So really great school, and I can imagine how Bobs and the boys have contributed to the school as well.
And it's funny that Bobo's doing a lot of the broadcasting now, and Hinyani Shamangi too, who was a year ahead of us. So we had a few Rondebosch voices. So our English teacher must have done something right as well.
No, for sure.
And when did you realize you had a gift, that you had some speed and you were on a certain trajectory with rugby?
When I was in primary school, I had a close mate of mine. His name was Atumile. He played Craven Week he played Craven Week under 13 when he was 11. He played Craven Week under 13 when he was 12. And he played Craven Week under 13 when he was 13. So he played 3 straight years. And growing up next to him, he was basically my best friend. We played in the same teams at school, but I never got to achieve any provincial colors like he did. Yeah, he was rugby mad, and they were crazy about rugby at his home as well. Dad was in the Department of Sports. So what he achieved at such a young age, that's what I always wanted to do as well, just to at least achieve provincial colors. And it never happened for me. I went to Dale. I played 15Bs. I played third team. And in grade 11, I was 18 in grade 11. So that was literally my last opportunity to make a Craven Week side or play at a provincial level. And I played trials that year, and I was almost giving up on the game of rugby because I didn't make that Craven Week side nor the Academy Week side in 2010. So it was until a player got injured in the academy side who was playing off the bench as well. So they were like, yeah, let's give this guy a chance. So I got my opportunity then. And how it works in South Africa at the Craven Week and Academy Week, I played in the Academy Week. The bench and the reserve guys, they get to play the first game. And then the second day at Craven Week or Academy Week, the guys, the starting players that were selected to start, they get the opportunity. So the first game I got my shot, and I was like, here's my opportunity. I'm playing Academy Week. This is all I've dreamed about. And I think that's where things kicked off for me. Great tournament. I ended up playing all the games, played SA under 18 end of that year, and then got opportunities at provincial level to play for local teams. And I could have gone straight to the sevens as well, but I took a different route because of my mom basically said, whatever you do, you still have to study. So went to Port Elizabeth, played for the Kings where I could still be at the university. That year for me was like when I realized that I can actually do something on the field and the team could rely on me, you know. It was just great to be part of a team, you know, and to be able to share those moments with the team and guys that are unbelievably skilled and have such pace and so many different attributes, and to put that together, it was so enjoyable. And I think that's where things kicked off for me. And I never looked back since.
Yeah, Shakes, let's go to that. You know, so Super Rugby, obviously, as a young South African, you watch Super Rugby, it's like the ultimate. You got a chance to play that early in your career. Tell us a bit about that experience. And you mentioned that level up. So what was it like then? You representing the Southern Kings, I think, at that time, right?
Yeah, the Southern Kings got their first call up to Super Rugby level in 2013, and I was fortunate enough to be part of that team as well. It was daunting. It was scary. I was 21 years old. We were doing well at the academy, under the Kings Academy under 21s, and myself and Sergio got the opportunity, Sergio Peterson, to go play at the highest level, so to call it. Yeah, yes, it was so different. I mean, as I said, very daunting. I remember I played against Brian Abana at Newlands, and that was like the scariest game I've ever played in my whole life. I was a kid and I knew all about Brian. He was my role model. He was my hero growing up. I think most wingers in South Africa aspired to be the next Brian Abana, and I was so intimidated, but that just went great. I mean, the Kings, they also didn't have a bad run that year. We enjoyed a couple of good contests. We never really had a lot of victories. However, it was just something special and something different to have and to be part of. And yeah, it was just I just realized there again that there's just no limits. You can just go to the next level. You can just keep going and aspiring to play at whatever level that you dream to play at. And a lot of South Africans growing up, their dream is to put on the green and gold. And for me, that was just that's what I was pushing for. And it was so special. Ended up with 7 caps for Super Rugby. And that earned me and a call up to the Blitzboks as well.
Yes, exactly. Now, before we get to the Blitzboks, obviously Brian Abana, a rugby legend throughout the world, not just in South Africa, more dangerous than climate change, if you will. Now, so that's definitely a highlight for you for sure. Now, you also got a chance at a young age to play against Wales. They were touring South Africa at the time. You take us back to your memories of playing, against big international opposition.
Yeah, that was also a great opportunity. And you went out there on the field looking to just make a statement. You're playing an international side, and it was something different. And for that side as well, it was world-class players that were playing there. And lucky for me, I actually got to score a try in that game. So it's great memory, and it's such an impeccable venue. The Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. I still think it's one of the best stadiums we have in South Africa, even though we don't use it that much. But yeah, I think Wales were a good contest. And I said we were still more in a building phase with the Kings at that time. But I think we gave Wales a good run, and it was just a great brand of rugby that we played at the time as well, even though it wasn't winning rugby, but very enjoyable. And yeah, it's just great memories living it again today, and just looking back at such opportunities. I'm so grateful, and I look back and I'm actually happy to have created such memories.
Yeah, and as you said, getting over the try line, always very special, and against a big opponent as well. That's a great memory.
No, for sure. I think it was actually an overlap, but I think looking back...
Don't tell anybody here. It was a 110-meter effort. You beat 14 people on the way to score.
Yeah, looking back and just thinking, okay, no, you played Wales, an international side, and just reminiscing about it, you always say, okay, at least I dotted down there in that game.
Let's switch gears to sevens. And prior to your 2013 call up to the Blitzboks, did you play any sevens when you were growing up, and how were you spotted?
It's something that's only getting into the schools now, the game of sevens. But for me, we played the 15s game, and then from there we only played sevens towards the end of the year, and that was the only opportunity where and it was never even like taken seriously. You would have guys who played prop in 15s, and they would just head over and join the sevens game as well towards the end of the season. There was a tournament called the Atlantic Sevens that always used to happen after that year-end season where the selected team from the sevens competition at the end of the year from the schools, and then that Atlantic Sevens would happen, and then the schools will come against each other there, and then that'll be all the sevens games that you play in the whole year, and then that was it. But I always knew playing in school that I wanted to play sevens. Yeah, it was just so exciting, and a different brand of rugby that wasn't traditional in South Africa. And yeah, I just always knew that I wanted to play, and I had the option to play sevens immediately. But as I said, I think education was to be able to go to university. That was something that my parents wanted me to do. So I took that option. But I think while I was still at the Kings as well, I kept throwing that line to the national side and almost begging for an opportunity and working hard towards that. And eventually I moved from sevens in high school, a bit of 15s after school, and then in 2015, end of that year, moving to Stellenbosch to play a bit of sevens.
And what was it like when you got fully immersed into the Blitzboks environment and committed to sevens?
It was very different, and it's actually something that I've never experienced in my life before. It's a place that's pretty hard to move away from, and I think our is a great testimony to that. It was a hard decision for him to make, but a decision that had to be made. But yeah, for me, moving to a place where the standards are so high, the culture it's embraced so much, and yeah, it's just. And I've played in teams where there is culture and there's culture talks, but never been to a place where the culture is lived out so much, and the standards are just so high, and yes is yes, no is no, a group of great human beings that work so hard to achieve great things. So yeah, it was something different for me and a learning curve, personal development as a person, as a player, as a leader. So yeah, it was just almost a learning journey and a journey of development and growth, and that's what it's been. And as I said, it's just a tough environment to move away from.
And how would you describe the Blitzboks culture and environment on and off the field?
I'd say we have a culture of hard work, a culture of honesty. There's different values that the team lives up to, and there's certain standards and protocols that are in place. One of the pillars is family, and that's what we try and live out to the best of our ability, just to be a bunch of brothers off the field. And coming on the field, that makes things easier to be able to almost die for each other on the field and work so hard on the field for one another. Off the field, it's just all about representing and being ambassadors of the Springbok Sevens badge and being ambassadors of the country. On the field, it's all about the hard work. It's we actually have a team ID that we want people, when we run on the field, to identify us with, so it's almost boxes that we make sure that we tick in order to feel that we were successful in that performance. And we never talk about winning. If we've ticked all those boxes in that team ID, then we feel like we're successful, And if we've lost the game, then the better team won on the day. So that's just the culture of the team. That's mostly what it looks like off the field and on the field as well. Just a bunch of. We also have themes. One of our themes for the Olympics were being a bunch of wild dogs. I don't know how much you follow the wilds, but wild dogs, they hunt together as a team, and wild dogs are the most successful hunters as a pack. And wild dogs, they share their prey. They take turns to tire the prey. They strategize to bring the prey down, and those are the kind of things that almost drive and the things that drive the culture, just to make sure the boys are always looking forward to something different, and making sure you living out that culture and out on the field.
I actually do know about the Wild Dogs because I was the head coach of the Cape Town Wild Dogs last year in the Rugby 10s Championship. So I actually learned quite a bit about the dogs, and we had a bunch of wild dogs in the team, women from across the world, from Brazil to Mexico to Portugal and South Africa. So that was fun tapping into that, and coach a women's professional side in the USA called the Loonies, which are crazy. So wild and crazy kind of describes me, but I love that kind of. We talk a lot about wolves, Canada, and the way wolves hunt, and the sea wolves, which is the orcas, they hunt like wolves. So we use a lot of those metaphors as well up here. But what I liked what you talked about is you don't talk about winning. And I heard actually last night I was traveling I was doing my coaching masters through Sport Canada. So traveling across Canada late last night, and I was listening to this interview with this gentleman, Graham Reid, who's a legendary Australian field hockey coach, or as people say outside of Canada, a hockey coach. And he works with India currently, and he's developed a system with his team that if they follow their game plan, the score could be like Blitzboks could have lost 15-5, but as far as their point system goes, they actually like outscored their opponents 100 to 10 based on the things that they were focused on. And so for me, when I coached Mexico at the 2018 World Cup, how I measured success was, different from how a lot of other teams, maybe, the Black Ferns measure success against us. They beat us 40-odd to nothing, but, we actually didn't turn over, a breakdown. So we got points for that. Or every restart that we received, we got point. We didn't turn over one of those. So it's just all about those measurables. So, I was saying to Dallen before we got on the call with you, just about Fiji winning the World Cup. They're treated like kings, but had they finished second, there's nobody waiting for them at the airport. But at the end of the day, for the team, as far as what you can and can't control, and obviously we know the World Series is the most ruthless arena in the world, as far as the bounce of the ball goes. But yeah, I love that insight in your Blitzboks program. I'm not talking about wins, but talking about the measurables and what you guys are focused on, and as well as obviously the culture piece. And yes, as a fan and supporter and someone that's played against the Blitzboks and coached against the Blitzboks, you can see like the energy and the focus. You do look like a pack when you're on the field. So thank you for sharing that piece.
Thanks a lot. And I mean, winning, it can also be a distraction, and sometimes when you're not winning, that's a frustration for you to just try to get to that point of at least doing well and winning, but you have to go through certain processes in order to get to that win, and it's just everything is a step at a time in those processes to reach a end result, and we also talk about chasing perfection with those processes. So everything just needs to be perfect, and we say we chase perfection, and if we don't reach a perfect game, at least we will hit excellence. So that's how we look at things, and it's gone well for a couple of seasons. So I think it's a method and a strategy that's actually been good for the team.
Yeah, Shakes, let's delve into that. The process sounds pretty fascinating and amazing. You were part of a legendary Blitzboks squad. They won back-to-back series titles, 2017 and 2018. Robin mentioned, and we know how hard the series is. To win the series, you have to be so consistent throughout the year. You can't just win a couple of tournaments anymore. So a lot to unpack there, So when you look back to those teams and the coaches and the group you had to win on the HSBC World Series, what do you think was different about your team if you had to compare it to the opponents you played against?
I think first and foremost, it was just a great bunch of rugby players, really talented individuals and just great players, good people as well. I mean, in that squad, we had Seabelo Senatla, we had Carl Brown, Philip Sneyman, Kwacha Smith was still there, Rwanda was in the frame, Cecil Afrika was doing great things. I just think it's always about buy-in in everything, like how the players buy in. And that group was so focused on just contributing to the success of the Springbok Sevens. And we also, something that we talk about that is that it's never about the player, but it's always about the system, and again, I think that was different for that team in that season and against the opponents that we played against. It was just always about the system, putting the system first. How can I serve the system? And having such talented individuals, great players, and good human beings that we had at the time, and people that were just willing to sacrifice so much for the team and for the system, for the badge. It just all came together, and I think that's what made that team very special and different.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to track back and have a look at, you said, the makeup of the different teams. And let's look at this past season, because it was a roller coaster ride. For any fan watching the Sevens World Series outside of supporting individual countries, for the first time, we went to the final tournament in Los Angeles. 4 teams could have won it. I mean, you had Fiji, you had Argentina, Australia, and of course your side as well. So talk us through that. 9 tournaments. Of course, you started off like a house on fire, winning the first 4, but it was so much drama, and we ended in Hollywood as well. But can you touch on the season? Because I know South African fans, of course, that watched and supported you guys were also wondering, what happened, and did the other teams get better, or did something happen within the squad? Those kind of questions obviously were definitely raised.
Yeah, no, I think we really had a good start to the season. I think we really had a great preseason, having fresh players coming in, so many individuals making their debuts in the same season. So I think we really had good preparation coming into the season, which is always great because you have your base of conditioning and you have so much opportunity to have team buildings and just to grow closer as a group. And as I said earlier, family is everything, and just that closeness of the individuals in the system, not only the players, but including players and management and coaches and players. So that's very important. And then, the talent of these guys, it's just something that just is always there. Like the skill level is so great. And the academy system of the Blitzboks, I must mention, is a great feeder system to the Blitzboks. And that's where the players are scouted. And that's where they earmarked Marius Kuman and the current coach, Sandile Ngobo. They earmark those players at a school level already, and some of the players who are playing at a Currie Cup level or a 15s level, they also get earmarked and scouted and brought into the frame through the academy, where they keep developing until they get onto the world stage. And when they do, it's almost a seamless transition. But coming back to the season, I think, we hit the ground running in Dubai. And I must say the teams did get better, for sure. I know all the teams, they're very competitive. And part of that competitive spirit is analysis on the game. So they watch your games, they watch the different strategies that you throw out there and try to counter that. I know all the countries do that. And it was just different combinations, I think, also played a factor for us. You have such consistent selection protocols, and having almost a base of players that start your games and start your tournaments. And then you have tournaments where a different group has to start those tournaments, or a different individual in a certain position has to slot in and offer a different combination for the team. So a lot of that, it plays a role in how things flow in the tournament. So I think in some tournaments, it really went well with a player just slotting in seamlessly. However, in others, it was just almost like, we still have to get these players just to work well together, and this team that's been selected for this tournament just to gel well, And I must say, I think there was a lot expected from going 36 games on the trot, from the supporters, from the media, the fans, and the world at large, and you never know if that's something that plays in a player's head within the team or approaching a certain tournament. But I think the main thing is just how incredible and how competitive the HSBC World Sevens Series is, and how teams like Canada have improved immensely. And we've played a couple of times against them this season, and I'm sure you've commentated on those games, and it's just been such a contest. Teams like Fiji, New Zealand, having not played for a couple of tournaments, I believe it actually gave them so much hunger just to catch up. It gave them a challenge to come back on the scene and to face that challenge head on, and to just show that they're also a nation and a country to be reckoned with. I think that really fueled their fire. New Zealand came back onto the circuit, and they were keen to go, and it just showed that the time away and the time they spent as a group worked in their favor a lot. And I think something else that people forget, I know we did well for a couple of tournaments, but some of the players, they actually experienced a loss. Like the first time that losing streak happened, that was the first time that the players had lost in a Springbok jersey. So it was something different for them, and it was something that they had to navigate around, because, okay, for them, and they are players that played 1 or 2 tournaments, or 3 or 4. So after 3 or 4 tournaments, you're like, okay, this is what a tournament looks like. I go there, I play, win all the games, successful, let the trophy go. So now randomly you just get shot, Achilles heel, you get up your first loss. It's something you have to navigate around. So, and it was not a challenge, but it was a great learning curve and a task as leaders of the team to be able to work around such things. And yeah, so very interesting season. And as you said, and as everyone knows, very inconsistent, up and down, but really competitive on the world stage. And as you said again, Dallen, just getting to LA and having so many teams potentially winning the circuit was truly special. And hopefully this upcoming season offers the same.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have written a better script for that at all. As a fan watching, as a broadcaster involved in the game, you want that. You want every game to be meaningful. And I know it's sometimes a cliche. People say there are no easy games. Well, there aren't these days. And that's the amazing thing, like you saw in LA against Wales. Wales hadn't beaten South Africa in a decade. And they pulled out a brilliant game. And that's why, in North America, it's so exciting to have sevens as such a top sport, because anything can happen in 14 minutes. If you happen to be off your game, you can beat anybody. And I just want to touch on that one point, though. So your Commonwealth gold medal champions, you guys took out Fiji in the final. South Africa did 31 points to 7, an unbelievable effort, and then it's tricky because to be consistent, neither Fiji were consistent because they never won that tournament, but they won the Sevens World Cup. But let's go back to the Commonwealth Games, because that was probably the amongst the best display I think South African fans have seen in a Blitzbok jersey. You've navigated the roller coaster that was the series, of course, but take us back to that special event and obviously, your relationship working with Neil Powell. Tell us a bit about that as well.
Yeah, I think that was one of the best pre-tournaments preparation that we've had. And we get a lot of confidence from our preparation, so we love that. We enjoy the process, as I said, just banging away and just going through the strides of what's expected in that camp. So it's always different. Again, the format but that's all coaching and management department. But I think we really worked hard. We prepared well. We spent time as a team for most of that camp. That's something that's very beneficial, to just be amongst each other and spend time amongst each other as a group. You grow so much closer, and that prep was just so almost close to perfect. And then going into Birmingham, playing at Coventry, everything just came together, and you take so much confidence from the hard work that went in at home and in those camps, and you feed off of that. You use that confidence. And I think Coach Neil is a true leader who led that and spearheaded that preparation, and that's what he's been doing is his whole campaign with the Blitzboks and his whole career with the team. So that's just the kind of individual that he is. So good to work with him, and such a great leader. And I always make an example of how he leads by his actions and not by his words. He'll be the first guy to do the dirty work that needs to be done. And going on tour, you need to pack the bus, and he's the first person down there at the bottom packing the bags of the players and making sure that everything is checked out on the management traveling luggage. So the values that he lived by, as a human being, those are inspirational. Those are values that most of the players look up to. And he always ensured that we become better people before we are better players. And that's one of his slogans that he believed in, that better people make better players. Yeah, it was such an honor to work with him, and I know he's achieved so much as a player and as a coach. I think it's a big loss for the system, but really excited and looking forward to the next call it a new era of a new coach and new players coming through as well. So I think Birmingham was a dream, and everyone looks to go into a Commonwealth Games or Olympic Games to get a gold medal, and for us it was just the perfect performance.
Yeah, special to do it with Neil at the helm, and he's obviously been around for 15 years or so, and you've been a big part of his team for many years. So it was really wonderful to see that moment and see you guys lift the trophy and get that gold medal. Fantastic work.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
It's challenging, like post-pandemic, as far as like different competitions for coaches and the Olympics. There was so much build up for the Olympics last year for all the nations, and if it was going to happen, if it isn't going to happen, and it got delayed. And as a coach, I talk about with lots of other coaches, like pinnacle events cook programs, they cook players, they cook staff mentally, and for players and coaches, I don't think a lot of people understand that. Like this year, the Olympics a year ago, and you had obviously World Series events this year, so getting fired up, and then you have a Commonwealth Games, which is a major pinnacle event. For me, the Commonwealth Games I went to in 2006 was the highlight of my career as a one-off. But then you have World Series events. I mean, each World Series events is almost like a pinnacle event with a lot of travel. And then you have a World Cup. So it's like I felt you guys really peaked at the Commonwealth Games. And I'm obviously close with Bengali. And so I said, like, I think you guys, New Zealand peaked in LA. I said, and you guys, I think, are going to peak at the World Cup. And obviously a bounce here or there can go anywhere, but it's, as a coach who looks at periodization and is planning for a year, like how do you keep a team peaking at like 3-4 multiple pinnacle events within a month? Do you know what I mean? So and players aren't robots, and there's a lot of challenges that go with that. But just to circle up on the Commonwealth Games piece, just watching you guys in that final, it was like a master class. Tiger Woods like chipping from a bunker, and like the kicking display and the connection you guys have for you guys running onto the ball, and it was artistry. So I'm sure there's lots of athletes and coaches going to attempt all this stuff, like after watching you guys put on a display, but none of us will be able to execute it. So, but out of respect to you guys, like, peaking is very, very challenging when your bodies are traveling and getting abused. Just segueing into obviously the amazing Cape Town Rugby Sevens World Cup. Could you take us into that final huddle on day 3, with it being obviously Neil's final match as a coach for the Blitzboks, and what was that like as a journey and emotionally for you guys as a family?
I think firstly, Fiji will definitely be able to pull off anything, because they can pull anything out of a hat. It was really a tough tournament here in Cape Town. I mean, playing in Cape Town, firstly, there's always high expectations on the team, and there's a lot of pressure on the team to do well. First and foremost, I think going into Cape Town is always something different. South African public, the media, the supporters, they love their rugby, and we are a rugby-loving nation, and we're so passionate about the sport, and we love winning so much. So it was always going to be a massive event, and it being a World Cup to add on to that, and a World Cup on your home soil, it was always going to be massive. So we had obviously lost on day 2 against Ireland in the quarters, and then we had 2 more games to go. And that last game against Samoa, we basically, everyone knows the format. It was cutthroat, and we lost our game, and so we were out. So and then we had that last game to play, and we all knew that it's the last game that we were going to play under Coach Neil. So it was always going to be a massive game, and just to almost send him off. And so that game really went well, and the boys put their bodies on the line. We played the way that we had a performance that we were looking for from day 1 already. We had a performance that we were looking to have throughout the whole World Cup and throughout the whole season, basically, at a consistent level. So it didn't happen. And I think Coach Neil did say that it's not always a fairy tale. I think with what you mentioned as well, that players aren't robots. It's not always going to be perfect, and it wasn't, and it wasn't the ending that he would have wanted. It wasn't the ending that we would have hoped for as well. But I think to send him off in that way was pretty special, and I think that's the last game you always remember, and that a lot of people remember as well. Just in that huddle, he was just grateful to be part of something special, something bigger than himself, and so grateful to be able to stand in a huddle and have brothers around him that week in and week out, day in and day out, strive for something similar, and something not even similar, strive for the same goal, So that was the gratitude that came from the words that he articulated in that circle, and obviously very emotional, and I don't blame him, and we spent so many camps and so many pre-departure camps and tournaments together, and you form a bond, you grow close, and there's a player-coach relationship. All of that plays in your head, and towards the end of the season and going into the World Cup, he started to realize that it's his last time flying to London. It's his last flying to London with the Blitzboks. It's his last time having a captain's run. It's his last time doing a warm-up. It's his last time running next to the field and sending the players on the field. So there was a lot of loss of things that he did for the last time before he wrapped up. And I think that's also what made it a bit emotional to know that, okay, this I will not do again, and it's something that he holds so dear to himself. And I think just a special message that he left with the players was just to play to the best of our abilities and potential as a group, always, just to make sure that with all the games that lie ahead of us with him in his absence, that we just play to the best of our ability and to our potential, and that he'll continue following us and obviously keep in touch. And the other theme that we have in the Blitzboks culture is that you can leave the team, but you're always part of the family. So Coach Neil will always be part of the family. And we'll probably be in Cape Town for the Cape Town Sevens, who knows? So he's always part of the family. We still have his cell phone number. We're still in touch with him. So a very special moment at the World Cup. And we were actually thrilled to be able to send him off with a win and the performance that we displayed out there for him.
Yeah, Shakes, that was beautifully said by yourself as the captain. And it's kind of tricky, as a player, you don't always know when your last game is going to happen. You could be injured and you may not come back, or you might not be selected, or that sort of thing. But, he knew as a coach coming up, that's probably, as you said, why it was so much more emotional. But I remember watching that last game at the Cape Town Stadium, and then afterwards with his family was there. They jumped onto the field with him. He gave each one of you, obviously after that long huddle, a hug, and tears were going down. And you share so much in the game of sevens because it's such a small group as well. And you could see how tight you guys were as a family, and I'm very happy you were able to at least send him off on a big one against that Samoan side there. Switching gears a bit now, we mentioned the two coaches you coming in as well, a new era, Sandile Ngobo and Philip Snyman leading the charge. Can you give us some words about them and what you expect they're going to bring to the program?
I played with both of them, both Philip and Coach Sticks. I think firstly, great individuals, really great ambassadors of Springbok Sevens. I think those two as players, they were the standard of what the culture of the Blitzboks was. If you had people who lived out the culture, you would just look to them and you would get it. Unbelievable players. Philip was the captain of the Blitzboks as well. He actually was the captain before I was. So and I think when they stopped playing, they obviously invested a hell of a lot to just grow and learn so much more about the game. They they also were both captains and leaders in the side. So they already read the game at a high level while they were playing. And obviously there were hints that they would be great coaches one day, and unbelievably happy for their achievements, And I think their leadership is just something that stands out. And I believe that they will take the baton over from Coach Neil, and they'll run even faster, something new, young, and exciting. Such hard workers as well, Coach Dix is he's really passionate and such a hard worker, loves a lot of analysis on the game, similar to Coach Neil. Those two got along in terms of that, shared so much about the game, great conversations, and Philly exposed himself so much more to the game, moving over to Germany and giving himself the best chance just to grow as a coach, and making sure that he's just at a level that will be required to be able to lead the Blitzboks as well. So we're looking forward to working with them. We've already had a camp this past week up in Middelburg, just getting away and having 3 objectives with that camp, having juniors that haven't tasted the circuit level, just not necessarily to play on the circuit because it wasn't on the circuit, but for them to get game time and to play a bit. And then secondly, just to have seniors out there, the likes of Justin Khadult, who's almost close to getting back on the field, who's been around the block as well, just giving back to the system and giving back to those players as well. And then thirdly, just team building, just to get away and to grow closer again as a group, with our new coaches, and to just almost stamp it and seal it off that it's a start of something new. And it was great, and we can already see the energy in the group, the synergy amongst players, and the synergy with the coaches and players that is being created. The start of something special. So yeah, I think really great individuals, great human beings, hardworking men, and really excited to work under them.
Good Blitzboks fashion, fresh off a World Cup and a nonstop season already in camp, and fresh off the production line. Some players we've never heard of that are likely better than most of the players in the world. I can't wait to see them in action again. I mean, that's players are definitely not robots, but whatever comes off the Blitzboks conveyor belt is just pure gold and so talented. So you guys definitely are doing something right, and obviously, what I've always seen. Well, at least since I remember in 2018, I was at the Hong Kong Sevens with the Mexican women, and we finished before the men start. So I was in the stands watching, and I believe you guys were at the Commonwealth Games, like the Blitzboks were at the Commonwealth Games. So they sent a young side to Hong Kong, and they absolutely tore it up. Like it was like almost every guy I think they were all debutants on the World Series, and so they're thinking like, oh, it's their B team, and a number of countries sent their B team, but yeah, it didn't look like a B team. They absolutely tore it up. So that's super exciting. Obviously, with the amount of pinnacle events that's happened in the last 12 to 16 months, with obviously World Cup, Commonwealth Games, and Olympics, what does the future hold for you? Do we get to see you carve it up for the next few years, or what does that look like?
I think in the beginning of the podcast, I touched on how special it is to be part of the group. And I can genuinely say that it's a system and a culture that you won't get anywhere else, not in 15s. I doubt if you get it anywhere else in the world. It's just something special. And for me, it's something that I still want to hold on to, and obviously the roles will change. There's young boys coming through, and again, I'll attest to what the system and the culture is all about. It's never about the player, it's never about the individual, but the system. So for me, looking to stay on, play a bit more on the world circuit, really enjoy playing at that level as well. I'm not sure if I'll play as much as Branko de Priya, those on almost 100 caps now, tournaments. But I'm still looking to push through and just see what the new era looks like, and contribute more to the jersey and to to the system. So yeah, definitely this upcoming season you'll be seeing me, and excited to start a fresh season after a tough year. Sevens rugby has been good and still enjoying it on the world circuit.
Yeah, Shakespeare, I've got to get a few more one-liners for you ready. So let me start penciling them in.
Yeah, please. I'm looking forward to that one. I'll do the thinking. I'll do the thinking from now already.
Thank you.
All right. So as we closed in the last few questions, we've got some favorites for you. You've obviously been around the World Series for a number of years. What would be your favorite sevens venue of all time?
I'll have to be biased, say Cape Town, but there's really great venues around the world, like Hong Kong. It's amazing to play there. It's good to play in Sydney. I always enjoy playing in Sydney. And the BC Place in Vancouver is also one of the good ones, but my favorite is Cape Town, South Africa.
Picturesque Cape Town. I love it. And it's nice how much the World Series teams have embraced the Vancouver Sevens. I never would have thought as a kid or even as a player that we'd ever host a World Series event. And it's been amazing. And obviously the Blitzboks lift the trophy just about every year in Canada. So that's wonderful. And who would be your favorite sevens team you've played against? Who's the one you respect the most and you get up for?
Respect. I think there's really competitive sides. Our rivals are New Zealand and Fiji, and I think those two I'll answer and say it's New Zealand and Fiji. But again, it's so competitive on the circuit. But I think New Zealand and Fiji are.
Yeah, Titanic matches. All right, now, very difficult one for you. You have to name your South African Sevens dream team. So, Shakes, you can either choose players you played with or players you've watched as a youngster growing up. So you have to choose 7 players that make your South African Sevens dream team.
Okay, I'll go loose head, Chris Dry, the up-and-coming commentator.
Yes.
At hooker, I'll definitely say JC Pretorius, teammate of mine currently. Tight head, Zane Davids. Sweeper, it's a tough one when it comes to the playmakers, but I'll say Roscoe Speckman at sweeper. And then 10, I'll choose 2 if I'm allowed to do that.
Okay, who you got?
I'll go Sullivan Davids and Cecil Afrika.
Wow. Yeah.
And then at center, I will have to. Yes, this is hard. This is so hard. There's been so many great players coming through, and let me pick Werner Kok.
Yes, Werner Kok, the Lion, of course. And who's your winger?
Seabelo Senatla.
Oh, who came to watch you at Cape Town recently as well before he was playing there, carving it up. What a team. What a team.
I think that the team has grown over the years, and it was really hard to. There's legends in the game, and there's players like Mzwandile Stick, who's been part of it, Fabian Juries, even now as current the previous assistant coach Renfred Dezal, who've contributed well. Marius Kuman played as well, so it was hard. And there's legends like Dusty Noble who go way back, so it was hard. But I really think the game has grown, and most of the players should come from almost the most recent and current players.
Yes, I agree with you. Okay, now another tough task. The players you've played against on the Sevens World Series, you're going to choose a dream team from the opponents you've faced.
Oh, my word. It gets a bit tougher. Loose head, I will go James Rodwell. At hooker, I will go Phil Burgess. 2 English guys.
Yeah, that's rare.
Tight head. Actually, I changed my hooker. It's DJ Forbes.
Oh, you just dropped Burgess. Damn it, he's out.
He's out.
It's gone.
Tight head, I will go with Yes. Actually, not sure if he played loose-head or tight-head, but Nasoko, the Fijian. Sweeper, Jerry Tuai. At fly half, I have to go with... It's always tough when it gets to the jockeys, eh?
The jockeys.
I can't believe we haven't been named yet, Dallen.
Yeah, you can't select Robin or myself. I forgot to say that initially.
I was lucky enough not to have played against Dallen.
That's right.
I'll come back for the fly off.
Yeah.
I think 12 would have to be Sione Molia.
So good.
And at winger, Dan Norton.
Yeah.
Fly half, maybe I should. There's so many. There's so many. Let me just give it to Ravovo, the Fijian.
Oh, wow. Yes. Well, that's a quality team. Brilliant work. Love it.
I sure wish I had the luxury of having to name those kind of players in my team that I played with. I mean, I played against. I think they're all in the Hall of Fame, the guys we played against, but playing with, no disrespect to my teammates, but we only had one athlete when I played. It was Dave Moonlight, John Moonlight's older cousin.
Ooh.
And he would go through a hole and we'd hope he'd finish because there's no way we were going to get there. So we had to try, and every time we scored, we had to touch the ball like 10 times. But no, those are some class legends. Like for me and Dallen, like our highlights are not on the field. It's off the field. And, you spend a lot of time together, right? You get some cabin fever from time to time, but what were some pranks that you and your teammates pulled on each other? And what were some of your highlights?
Yes. I mean, I think when you have a bunch of guys together for such a long time, as sometimes our camps are up to 4 weeks, so we're together for that long. And when you get to tour, it's like an added excitement of being in a new country, getting away, you're about to compete on the weekend. So, and your prep is pretty much done. You're just sharpening up where you only have like a session in the morning and then pretty much the rest of the day off. So I think there's so much that the guys can get up to. And I think the naughtiest guy that has been part of this team while I was here was Kwagga Smith. And I'm throwing him into my dream team. Just
there it is.
Before I forget him. The one time we were in New Zealand, and let me just name like a few pranks that I've seen in the team. So our physio, Hugh Everson, I think his nickname should be Blue Cheese. He went through a phase where he took cheese and he just left it under the players' pillows, he actually rubbed it on the pillowcase, so that when you move the cheese, you're still left with that stench in the room and you can't sleep. But since he's done that, the players have actually hit back and fired back on him. And sometimes they'll take sticky spray and spray his stops. As he wakes up in the morning, he'll put them on and they'll pretty much be stuck to his feet the whole day. So those have been hilarious to see him struggle to get that off his feet. And then on his way to the toilet, he thinks he's shooting straight into the basin, but sometimes the players take cling wrap and just put it over his seat. So he actually cannot see that there's actually a seal where you can't actually pee into the toilet. And that's also crazy because he ends up messing all over the place on his shorts and pajama pants, whatever the case may be. But I think the highlight, I think the guys, sometimes you walk into your room and it looks like a tsunami just wrecked it. Sometimes you went out downstairs for a meal or something, and when you're back, it's like a tsunami happened. For no reason, they'll just flip your bed. Your clothes are all over the place. And, it's just a It's just a disaster. But I think the highlight was when we were in New Zealand, and Kwagga took a video of, I don't know if people saw it or if it went out. He took a video of himself. He took a scoop of Nutella, and then he made as if he took that out of his pants, and then in the video, walking into Chris Dry's room, he knocked into the room, and then Chris's roommate, who was Ruan at the time, Ruan now, opened the door, and then he went straight to Chris's bed and then smeared all of that Nutella on his bedding in his sheets, and then sent that video to Chris, and then on the group as well. I think you had to be there to experience Chris Dry's rage and how furious he was with Kwagga. But that was just the highlight for me and one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He was so upset. I think he did. If no one told Chris that was just Nutella, he would have gone toe to toe with Kwagga.
Well, I heard Chris Dry was the prankster in all the tours, so that's brilliant that Kwagga got him back, and you guys were on the inside joke of that. Unbelievable.
Nah, for sure. Chris came up with all this tsunami stuff anyway, so he kind of deserved it.
The problem is though, once you start that, it never ends. Like, you know, so, and I would likely fire that physio, because if the guys aren't sleeping, he'd be going home on the next plane.
Nah, for sure. He's the energy of the group, and
that's awesome.
The boys enjoy having him on the tours as well.
Shakes, brilliant. Now, last couple for you, we're going to let you go, but do you have a personal embarrassing moment? Anything rugby or non-rugby related?
Yes. I think I've felt, you always feel embarrassed, you know, when you're not sure of what to do and where to go, sometimes coming in as a new player, and maybe at the airport or whatever the case may be. But I think for me, I almost avoided those because I don't get involved with pranks and all that stuff, you know. I stay away, and I just did my own thing. So yes, I really can't think of one right now.
Well, you're the captain as well, so you got to keep up that persona. So there, fair enough. We'll let you go.
No, for sure.
All right, to wrap it up here, which is near and dear to my heart, what advice would you pass on to a young rugby player listening to this podcast, you know, who will strive to represent their country one day like you?
What I always think of is, you never, because I know it happened for me, like, you never know who's watching you in what you're doing. So whether it's picking up litter that is in the premises of your sports facility, chucking it in the bin, that says so much about you as an individual, but we know all about that. But being on the field, you play as if, whether you're playing in a tournament like the one we played in last week in Middelburg, or you're playing at a World Cup in Cape Town, just making sure that you play your best game in that game, you know. And as Dallen said, like, you never know when it's your last game. So in every single thing that you do, I believe that just give it your best and strive to be on top of your game with each training session, with just being you as a human being. Just try to be the best version of yourself in whatever you do. And it speaks volumes to people that are watching. And you never know who is watching you. So I always like to say that to the young boys, and hopefully someone might have an eye on them and select them for the national side.
Excellent advice, Shakes. Excellent. Now, forget load shedding. Shake Soyizwapi is electric 24/7. Boom, we're out of here, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. Bloody brilliant to get your insight on what's been an unbelievable career so far. Lots more highlights to come, buddy, but really, really cool to hear from you, Shakesy.
Thanks a lot, gents. I appreciate you guys for having me on the show. Really enjoyed it.
You're the man, my friend. We can't wait to see you in the series again soon. We'll see you in Hong Kong.
Also never stops talking, does Perenara, but I suppose that's the job of a scrum half.
Set.
He feeds. 5 out from the own line. Satutu picks up, finds Jordan. Jordan skins one. Back to Hoskins Satutu. Here comes Perenara. Back of the inside. Barrett. Oh, not even Wes Craven could have directed that. It's frightening from the All Blacks. And Bowden Barrett gets a popular try in DC.
Thank you for listening, you sleek sensations.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to Rugby Hive podcast and catch us on all the socials at Rugby Hive.
We appreciate your support. Be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.